Hey guys, and welcome to Coronavirus and Property Investors. So what I wanted to cover today was just the tools that I'm using to actually make, that I use for the various things in terms of the virus side of things, not actually the economics, not the human tragedy, but actually the economics, the viral side of it. And I think the most interesting one, and I'll take you to that to start off with, because I think that's the most important one to look at, is actually the, you know what, I'm not even going to pronounce it. I'll put it on screen because if you don't have the link, and actually it'll be the link in the actual description, because it's a subside of a subsite. But I think the really important thing is, I think this is how I'm using, or if you like, visualizing, because I'm big onto data, and when you look at the data, a lot of the John Hopkins or Worldometers, they don't really, they're quite bland in their presentation. So if we have a look at the Worldometer site, it's got the totals, it's got a couple of graphs, and yes, you can do, a couple of other things with it, groovy graphs, and then it's got a whole table. It's not that interactive. The one that I use if I really want to see where things are, because you can go and punch data, or you can look at this. And so this is here. So it's called COVID Trends, and it's by aatishb.com /COVID Trends. And basically, if you go there, it's an amazing website. So let me just show you this. I just want to show you this. So this is a illustration. So you can see China jumping up right now, and then China, starts to come down. The rest of the world starts to chase. South Korea takes off. It drops off. Now you notice these drop-offs. That's the important thing. So this is, if we have a look at that now, look at the US. Look at the US. Wow, that's shooting right up, and you can see a number of countries dropping off. That's dropping off the curve effectively. Now, this is, if you have a look at this, it's new confirmed cases in the past week over total confirmed cases. Okay, so over time, obviously. So this is it basically starts at 50 confirmed cases or more. That's where it starts. So some countries won't be on here, they're under 50, but effectively I can choose on the side whichever countries I want. So in this case, I've got a number of countries, and I've looked at confirmed cases. And now this is the interesting thing. When you look at this, you go, well, actually, US is not too far, not too bad. And you look at most countries, yes, China's dropped off. I've heard about that. Australia, New Zealand, yeah, they're doing quite well, and they've got it quite early. So the further down on the left it is, the earlier they've caught it and dropped off the curve. The further down the track, and as you'll see, when you plot the data, just the raw data, what you'll see is most countries are following exactly the same trajectory. A few countries like Singapore was following the trajectory, dropped off, but then it's shot back up again, because what happened was the migrant workers got hit. So there is stories like that, but effectively the data is showing that this spreads the same way, which is good news. If it was all over the shop and you couldn't plot it, it'd be very hard to know which is the best course of action. But the reality is we do know the best course of action, because we can look at what the countries that have dropped off have done. Whether it be really tight controls, whether it be, for the most part, that is the thing, the social distancing and things like that, testing, tracing, all that sort of stuff, So basically, if you do that, those countries are dropping off the curve. The UK is up there and Europe's up there. They just didn't have enough testing. They didn't respond quick enough. US, arguably, still isn't doing enough testing, and the tracking and tracing, well, and they're still letting people run around. I mean, anyway, but this is interesting because when you look at this data, you think, well, actually, the US is not too bad. People are making out that there's, big problems in the US and da. But here's the interesting thing, This here is 10, cases. This is 100. This is 1,000. This is 10,000. This is 100,000, and this is 1,000,000. So it's adding a zero with each one that goes up. So let's have a look at this same thing on a linear scale. All right, and you can see when you go back to this, and I'll just let it run, because I think this is where you really see, because what you've got here now is 50, 100, 150, 200,000. So it's an equal scale, and now you start to see the real issue with the US and the real failure of Trump and the government, and in fact all the politicians over there. That is the reality of the US situation, and why the US potentially is going to have some really hard times economically, because obviously this is the virus, but actually this will lead into the economics. You know, I don't think they're going to bounce back. I think they will hit a U-shaped recession. You know, unemployment's through the roof, everything's through the roof. But anyway, let's not talk about that. But this is the real thing. Now, what we can also look at, because cases is one thing, but actually what you can look at if you want to see whether they're out of it or not, is if you go to, again, logarithmic scale, and let's play it out. So obviously China, mainland, you know, this is deaths, by the way, deaths, all right? So you can see now the deaths have dropped in China, and now what you're seeing is shoot up, and as you see them drop off, that means the deaths have dropped off, which means they're pretty much contained the virus. So I really like this for its visualization capability. And look, you know, that is what it looks like, which means it basically shows that all countries follow the same track. However, when you do it in a linear fashion, yeah, you realize that all countries aren't addressing it in the same way. And this is deaths, remember? So, you know, a lot of it, you can see China's already dropped off, you know, there. And you can start to see, you know, what's happening. Yep, dropping off. Spain, Italy, they've dropped off. France, United Kingdom, and the US. I mean, the US just skews everything out of proportion. I mean, this is, you know, this is ridiculous. I mean, it just shows you how bad Trump and the Republican government is in the White House right now, and how poor a response it is. You know, and anyone who's been following it, it is appalling, absolutely appalling. This is deaths, remember. So, you know, it's just incredible. But anyway, get back to the graph, the data. You know, this is really good. And I can change. I've got a whole list of things down here, the countries that I can choose. I can choose deaths. I can choose confirmed cases. I can actually look at, you know, if I want to just look at the US, I can bring the US. In other words, this is the states. So we can see which states have been doing, which states are off the curve. So you can see this is deaths in the US. So New York has started to drop off the curve. New Jersey. You know, some of these, if we take out New York on this, you know, then it wouldn't be so bad. But they've been hammered, you know. They were the first in, and they're the biggest, most populous place, you know. So that's understandably, given that they didn't get hold of it. So this is really good, this COVID trends. So aatishb.com/COVID trends, and then you can set it up how you want it. And it really shows you what things are really happening. So anyway, that's just a quick one for that. Have a great day, and remember, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay at home if the restrictions haven't been lifted. I mean, the good news is they're starting to talk about that, so we may be back at it. Although I'm in Singapore, we're locked down till the 1st of June, so they really are taking it seriously, because we have had another resurgence. So if you're like almost a second wave of this already. Although arguably it's probably part of the first wave, not the second wave. But anyway, all right, guys, see you later. Bye.